Oh my gosh. Hi, friends. It is good to be back on the Welcome to My Tent podcast for season 2. I am so amped, kicking things off with a solo episode, some life updates on my end, and some chit chat about what is to come for season 2 and some exciting things that I have on the horizon. So we can dive into that all on this solo episode. But the main thing I want to chat about is how excited I am to be back, chatting with you in solo episodes, bringing you some amazing guests, and working with some incredible people. So let's get into it. Hi, hello, hey, and welcome to my tent, a place to hear life experiences, different opinions, a range of journeys, and a viewpoint different than our own. A place to challenge our own thoughts, a space to learn a little bit, and I promise some fun along the way. I believe we're better when we let a range of people into our tents. So welcome to mine. Hello, friends. It is so good to be back for season 2. I have missed everyone. I have missed recording, although behind the scenes, I have been doing a lot of interviews with some pretty incredible folks to ensure that I have content set up and edited and prepared to launch. So we always have a fresh episode every week coming out on Wednesdays. We're still going to have episodes dropping on Wednesdays. I've said this before, mostly because I just think that Wednesday is a good day for an episode. It's dead center of the week. That's when everyone's kind of having a case of the hump days. It's not Monday where everyone's still sloggy. It's not also Friday where everyone's ready for the weekend. So Wednesdays it is. There's really no business decision behind that other than the fact that I like Wednesday. So there's that. So we're going to kick things off right now with a solo episode to welcome everyone back to the show, give some updates on my end about my life, and chat about that as well, because it's been a decently challenging but eye-opening 6-ish weeks for me by the time this airs, maybe like 2 months. Some of you have been able to get snippets of this if you are subscribed to my email newsletter. Some of you in my real life already know this as well, but I quit my corporate job on September 14th, I want to say. My last day is September 28th. So by the time that this airs, I will be no longer in the corporate world for the time being. This has been an interesting and decently challenging few weeks for me because I will put it transparently, this would have happened to me or by me. I got back from maternity leave about a year ago, and I came back to a company that had recently been acquired, or I had been at a company that had recently been acquired. And this was a very massive acquisition. They purchased the company that I was employed at for $3+ billion. We were combining 2 sets of teams. And in the midst of all of this, I also became a new mother and went out on maternity leave. So when I got back at the end of October of last year, things were kind of half merged. My account list had shifted a little bit. My accounts had been dormant. I was also just in this crazy phase of being a new mom, and we all were in this position that we were trying to figure out the best way to merge teams and companies. I will say that the acquisition's been harder, I think, than a lot of people anticipated as acquisitions are. This was the first time I'd ever gone through an acquisition within my corporate career, but I also found it very difficult to work through some chaos. And I think there are some people that can roll with chaos a little bit better than I can. I have gotten a lot better at it. Over the years, but I am still at my core a pretty type A person who likes organization and checklists and things to be done in a certain manner and everyone to do things in a systematic way. And this was not very conducive to that. I also will say that it was tough to, even from a branding standpoint, kind of figure out where we all stood. And it was a challenging environment to say the least. I think what was really, really hard about this for me was my work ethic was called into question. And I felt like I was trying really hard to adapt and figure things out and do things and keep moving forward. But at the end of the day, when you're in sales, you are measured by your numbers. And I can see how some of that just didn't connect and align. And I think it was just a struggle for me to be there. It was a struggle for them. The value on both of our ends wasn't necessarily connecting. And I had to take some time to figure out what was best for me. I did some work to try to figure out what was in my control and what was out of my control. I don't claim to be a perfect employee by any means. There are definitely things that I will learn from this to take away and make improvements on. But I also do believe there are some things that are just always going to be out of our control. And at the end of the day, there are things that can cause those misalignments where I also had to figure out the best next steps for myself, even if that is terrifying, because I've never not worked in corporate since I graduated from college. I graduated in 2012. A month and a half later, I started my journey into the corporate world and have not looked back since. And even when I have left positions, the most time that I took off in between jobs was maybe a week, probably not even that long. And so to decide to leave the security of this corporate position without exactly knowing what's next was not something that I was familiar with, and was something that kind of rocked me because I realized I didn't truly maybe believe in myself like I should. What I am extremely fortunate to have is a side passion that I have grown for the past 4 years, whether that be on social, my website, health coaching, fitness coaching, this podcast. I have put in a lot of work as my 5 to 9, we'll call it, not my 9 to 5, but my 5 to 9. And I'm excited to take a chance on myself for the next coming months while I figure out exactly what is next for me. I'm not going to close the door on anything quite yet because a lot of me is feeling like I do want to go back to corporate, but I also have the luxury and the privilege to do my side passions for the time being while I figure out what exactly that looks like. And I've had to have some really honest conversations with myself, which is a little bit painful because a lot of this actually does tie into the fact that I am still a new mom. I am still navigating what it looks like to be able to show up for work and show up for my kid. I've also been in sales for 12 years, and I'm having some dialogue with myself and my husband and some of the people that I trust is maybe this is the time to look at a different aspect of the business. Sales is a pressure cooker environment. And when you have a gangbuster year, it is wonderful, not even just for the financial reasons, but you're just feeling like you're on cloud 9, you're on top of the world. But when you don't have a good year, it really sucks. And it adds a lot of pressure because you are measured on the number that you are held against, and if you are meeting that or if you are not. So is this a time for me to maybe say, is account management something I want to look at, or product, or going to the brand side? And while I figure that out, I'm going to be taking some time to health coach and go back to teaching yoga and recording more content for the podcast and working with brands on social. And I'm also fortunate that does generate income. I won't lie. Well, it's not anywhere close to the salary that I make in corporate currently, but it's still generating income that I can use to help around here while I see where my heart leads me. And I truly believe the universe is written for me. I just have to listen to the messages that come along the way, whether that's witchy or not, and figure out who I am in this phase of life. I don't want to say I'm limited because I don't like how that has a negative connotation to it, but my life has drastically changed. I am now completely responsible for another person, and he takes precedent, and he is of mass importance a lot in my life. And maybe this is a time to find something that works better with that. For all I know, I will love doing my side projects full time. And maybe that will be the right call for me. I don't exactly know that yet. And for someone who enjoys control and really enjoys knowing what's next, I'm also pretty proud of myself for leaning into this discomfort. I've never met anyone that has had an easy journey, that has gone on to do great things. I feel like a lot of the people that have done some of the most incredible things within this world have a laundry list of things that they have failed at or, found challenge with or gone through, because that is where the resistance creates the change. And I have to lean into that, because if I just keep kind of skirting around it and avoiding it, it's not going to go away. And I'm not going to see what I'm truly meant for in this world. So that's a little bit of background on what's going on. I was able to resign from my job, which was good. Like I said, I would not have been surprised if they showed me the front door eventually. And I felt like through conversations that I had with internal folks and people that I trust in my life, it was the right move for me to be able to walk away and leave on good terms. And I am taking away a lot of people from this job that I am fortunate to have in my circle, and they're in my tent now, ding, ding, ding. And we will see what happens, and we'll see where this world takes me. So that's just more of a life update. So when this airs, I will fully be leaned into side projects as my full time. And I'm excited to see what comes of it when I actually have the time to invest in it, because I don't have the time right now. The most I can do is basically once Ronan goes to bed or on the weekends if I have some time here and there, but I really don't have much to give to this. So thank you for being along for this ride. And if you've been in a similar situation, it's really hard. And upon some soul searching, I also have to know this is what is best for me, even if I cannot see it now. I will look back on this in a couple years and it will make sense. It just kind of doesn't right now, and I have to live with that, which is super uncomfy and I don't love. But alas, here we are. But let's talk season 2 of this podcast, because things are coming out and I am so amped for it. So I have been able to connect already with a lot of different people from a variety of different backgrounds. And I find that each of their stories brings something different to this show. So think a brain surgeon, a neurosurgeon that has opened human skulls up, that has turned author and writer. Think of a woman who has summited all of these incredible mountains like Everest, which is surprising because that's actually not even the hardest one she's done. I have spoken to a woman who became a mom for the first time at 46, and just a slew of people whose stories are so different than mine and most likely so different than yours. Maybe they are also similar, and that is also fantastic to find that like-minded community, because sharing our stories helps us feel less alone. And even through all of this stuff with corporate and what's happened, being able to talk to people who have been in a similar situation has been a godsend for me, because it has given me such encouragement and hope and solidarity, because there are people who love us to our bones that will never understand what we're going through because they haven't experienced it themselves. And that's not their fault. And it's not our fault if we can't understand what someone is going through because we haven't yet had that same experience. So I'm bringing on a lot of different types of guests, and I've pushed myself out of my own comfort zone to start to interview people who I do not know. A lot of people in season 1 were acquaintances or people that I have at least had some conversations with in my past 4 years of building this space. But I also push myself out of my comfort zone to meet new people. And every single time I am blown away by how connected we actually are as people. You may think that you have no connection to a person that's coming on and talking on this podcast, or that you meet at the airport Chili's. I don't know. But if you sit down with someone for 15 minutes, I would be hard pressed to say you couldn't find something that aligns you to. It is really fascinating when we open ourselves up. So a couple different asks as we head into season 2, and some requests that I have, is to listen to these episodes with an open mind. I also have to challenge myself to bring on people that may not have the same opinions as I do, or perspectives, or might not make the same choices. I think what's really important here is that we can respect someone else's choices while simultaneously still making a different one. But hearing someone out and hearing their story only helps give you that other side of the coin. I don't want any of these episodes to be something that you feel is forcing you to try to change your mind. You don't have to. But I think something really beautiful about this life is we can change our minds. And it's not a bad thing to say, I thought this way for a long time. I've listened to a lot of different people and stories, and I maybe have a different perspective on it now. You will also have a drastically different perspective based on what's going on in your life. So I encourage everyone to just continue to listen. Think of each person as a unique being and hear them out with an open heart and a space to say, that's an interesting perspective. Maybe it'll challenge you to think differently. Maybe it won't. However that ends for you is up to you. And that is one of the coolest parts, I think, about getting to hear from a variety of different people. So that's going to be season 2. And we already have some stuff edited and in the works. I am very excited because I am going to be taking this podcast a lot more seriously. Not that I didn't in season 1. By seriously, I mean I am ready to invest in some more professional services. I got this together and have learned how to edit and use the mics and the interfaces and do all of the things because I think it's important to know how to do it. But I was really a one-woman show for all of season 1, and I'm proud of the work that I put out. Some of it was not perfect, but we did our best. And for season 2, I am amped to be bringing on some key people that are really going to help me make this what I want to grow it to. I think we need to plant our seeds where we want them to grow. And for me, that's working with Sam and Rick. I have mentioned them on this show. I have tagged them on social, but they have created their own company, Mountain Valley Media, and they're going to be helping me with some of the audio and editing and taking some of that workload off my plate so I can do what I love, which is talk. I mean, I can get on here and ramble for 45 minutes sometimes of just me, not even talking to anyone. So as you can imagine, I like the interview part. And I think we need to lean in to what we find our strength in. And it's okay if I don't love the editing process. I know how to do it because I think that is also valid, because if for some reason I do need to edit something, I always think that you should also know how to do the jobs that you've grown out of, quote unquote. But I am really enlisting my peeps, my Sam and Rick, to help me on some of this stuff as well. So I'm hoping that you'll hear some of that audio quality and content coming out for season 2 episodes. And give them a follow, a like. They have their own podcast as well called the What the Fuck is Happening podcast. I actually just recorded with Sam, so I'll be on her show soon, I think in October. And they've created such an awesome company of their strengths of this entire audio editing video world. So Mountain Valley Media, I'm amped to have you as part of my team for this show and to big things happening, hopefully, in the Welcome to My Tent podcast world. I think that's it. I don't know if I have any other major life updates. We're coming up into fall. It is finally fall. Autumn equinox. Yes, it's an equinox. Spring and autumn equinox, winter and summer solstice. Someone correct me if that's wrong, but I think that's what it is. Anyway, and we're getting some cooler weather here, and we've spent a lot of times outdoors. I'm looking forward to being able to have a little bit more flexibility to spend time with Ronan over the next coming months, and I promise I will update you all as my journey with what my job looks like evolves. All right, I think that's it. I love you all deeply. And thank you for being here. Bye. Thank you for tuning in to the Welcome to My 10 podcast. I hope you had as much fun listening as I do recording. I am so happy to have you here, and see you next episode.